understand the processes that you're going to be facing with the legislation, with all of those issues.
The critical factors of a business is the finance and the marketing. Absolutely. And make sure you go for the right niche. Ivor, do you think there's much more we can do for the entrepreneur from the services sector point of view?
I would like us to stop doing for the entrepreneur in the short term. Because Jill mentioned that there were 15 out of the 35 people who were on the NBC businesses who started those businesses. In Madupa's case, you know, we started off with 20 people on the program. And I'm saying it's time for CETUS to take a step backwards and possibly even freeze our new venture creation learnerships. And the reason I'm saying that is that the Department of Trade and Industry, principally responsible for using government money to incentivize the capitalization of new businesses, to give them equipment and to give them startup capital, has failed horribly in not doing that. So at this moment in time, I think it's giving false hope and false promise to people in giving them new venture creation learnership grants, where they have very little chance, and if they succeed in spite of the system and not because of the system, in sourcing capital to start up their businesses. And that's where I think the change needs to come. In saying we won't provide additional funding for learnerships or bursaries or learning until such time as there are guaranteed funds on the table, funds which don't require security, funds which are there to play in the entrepreneur development game that patently are not there yet. You know, we've had these voicings that Kula are opening the system and people will be able to come and they'll get funding and they won't have to give security. I'll believe that when I see it, and I hope I'm wrong, because if I'm wrong, it means we'll be able to refresh our new venture creation learnership granting process.
So you're looking for real partnership with the likes of DTI?
Yes,
really come to
but not with me, not with the service CETA, with him. So that he feels that he's not just being supported from a training point of view, but there's an organization like DTI behind him supporting his business growth.
Now, because we want another 100,000 more Madupas out there making the difference, but they've got to have the confidence, they've got the backing and the partnership from the various departments who should be coming to the party.
There's another change I'd like to see, and that is, and this is with respect, but I'd like to see him having got a job in advertising and not have to start his own business to make an income. I would like to see him climbing up the rungs of the advertising industry and learning the business before we say to him, well, the hopes of this country are on you to start your own business without that experience and then to create hundreds of thousands of jobs so that people can become employed by you so that we can alleviate. I mean, what are we putting as a load on his shoulders when we should be responsible for giving him a learning opportunity and environment? No. And that's where I think national policy is wrong.
I just want to jump in here. On the support side, just the point that you were making before, and before we come into this, first of all, the success and the sustainability of having new businesses and small fledgling businesses, which we need to talk about. The success and sustainability is exactly what Ivor said. There needs to be follow-up, there needs to be support, there needs to be... It's not a hand-holding process, but it certainly is a support. The legislative framework and the complications and the complexities of dealing in this first, second, third world economy that we mix in are amazing. So without those partners that Ivor speaks about, we really are not going to have the high success rate we need. And I think we need to be careful who we punish when we decide, you know, not to run these things. At the same time, just leading into the fact that perhaps it's also time that we need to look at the current small businesses, because these current small businesses need to have employees, they need to grow, they need to create associate partnerships and collaborative partnerships and communities themselves. And I think that perhaps the time has come, Ivor, where we need to start talking about looking at what is there and what do we need to do to grow them? Because
from a base.
Yes, growing from a foundation. Because I think the foundation is sustainability. Absolutely. You've got to have something that is going to be there, because we all rate our successes on that which is sustainable and going forward. So you're right, we've got to find maybe a new model, very likely, to make this sort of thing work. And get people to the party. My question is, how do we get everybody to the party? That's the problem.
I don't think we get everybody to the party. I think who we're looking for are the people who are right for the party in the first place. So we're really looking either for the mindset or the experience or
Talent.
for the combination of both. I really believe in, you're born a singer. A lot of people who are great singers were just born that way. And I think that a lot of people who are great entrepreneurs were just born that way. And our need is to really find great managers and great entrepreneurs to either take current businesses to higher levels. How can we take the community business? How can we boost it with great managers to grow the community business and provide a high income for the people, as well as make, of course, incentive for that entrepreneur who's going to be going into the businesses.
Yeah.
But it needs maturity, James. It
Absolutely.
requires
I think so.
maturity, market maturity, political maturity. We have too onerous of all kinds of things.
Somebody said, I think, we were speaking earlier on, and they said soft skills are the hard skills, actually.
They turn out to be the hard skills.
Yeah, and so a lot of the time, I think maybe our training as well needs to move towards some soft skills incorporated into, the training that you get, to have a more realistic picture of what it is that you're actually getting yourself into. Because I think that with my, group, I found that, even though you're competent in finances and whatever, but if your picture's not realistic, where are you going to use your finances? You need to have a realistic
You must
picture.
have a real. And the other thing, the other factor we seem to find or need to find is the passion within the individuals. How do we identify with that when we start off in a program? That's the one thing. Can you see it?
Well, this is the point I think that was being made by Madupe, is it hits you in the face or it doesn't. You cannot take people without the passion, without the commitment, without being a self-starter.
Real determination.
And without that real determination, you cannot make of them entrepreneurs. You can train them to be entrepreneurs, but you cannot make of them entrepreneurs. And that's what we've found here, roughly on a ratio of 1 to 20. For every 20 people we'd like to put on an entrepreneurial program, there's one person who's going to succeed. And the rest are going to be good managers, and they're going to be great operational people, but they're not going to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Not everybody's an entrepreneur.
That's very few people are entrepreneurs.
And the thing is, this whole business of maturity. Ivor, your thoughts on the matter? I think we touched on it at a previous conference, I think, about the necessity of maturity to be more successful.
If you're a business person, and it's your money which is funding the new venture creation learnership, do you put your money on 100 people who are straight out of school, or on 100 people who are possibly over the age of 35 or 40, have possibly been bankrupt, have lost their jobs at some stage, have been in companies that have had good days and bad days and cash crunches, and they've paid their salaries late, and the bank manager's been complaining, and the advert didn't appear on time, etc. Who would you rather put your money on to create and start a business and keep that business sustainable? There's no question that there are Madupes out there, but they are very few and very far between. On average, I think we've got to raise the age of people we invest in for new venture creation learnership, particularly. And at the same time, we have to have a better and a different kind of commitment to people like him, where we say, great, if you want to start your own business, perfect, if you're the right person for the job. But if you're the right person for the job, let's first look at some kind of a streamlined fast-track internship program. I mean, you take someone like Madupe, obviously the right person to start a business. But you take him and you put him into a Jupiter drawing room scenario for an internship for a year or 2 years, where he can learn everything about the business and the ups and the downs of that business. And then you get him to start his own business. He's going to have 2 years of invaluable fast-tracked experience at the highest levels and at an operational level. He's just going to be better equipped. What should happen is a good new venture creation learner who's graduated through the new venture creation learnership should be put onto a fast-tracked internship for that particular industry. And then that's where DTI should be kicking in with their support that they're just not kicking in with. And the mentoring.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. Ivor, I think that, we just keep coming back to the support and the fact that there needs to be a fast-track process and put them through the actual experience. When I was referring earlier to the technical experience required, without that base, without that foundation, you just can't build on it. The requirements of being a business person or an entrepreneur fall by the wayside. And also, I do think that when we talk about maturity, we need to realize that maturity involves much more than the individual. At a physical level, a physical age level, it involves looking at the business maturity as well. And sadly, as Ivor says, the need is for internships, but there's very little of that trust and transparency available to us. And I think that's something that we really need to push very hard for. How we go about it, I'm not sure, whether we use DTI incentive funding or not, but what we need is a way that business opens its doors and allows people in.
And to have that experiential
Absolutely.
sausage. That's really what we need.
Definitely.
Yes, Madhu.
And may I please add on to that? I think also, the biggest thing in business, I think, is really to do with systems, but realistic systems. What is happening right now, I think, is that there's such a big gap between a quality management systems that is documented and what actually happens in the business. And also a documented quality management system is limiting. What if you need to change a process right now?
Sure.
What if you need to get things going right now? I think that, that internship serves to give that entrepreneur that experience of how to deal with systems in a business and how to ensure that you change them, but you still keep, you need to manage.
Yeah, I think also there's a question of priorities. When you're in a corporate organization, you see how the priorities chop and change. And that actually happens in your situation. Do you find that in your business? Every day?
Absolutely. Well, you have to.
How do you handle it?
You adapt. You adapt. I think that's why I was saying that we at Naivete are looking for intuitive managers and people who are intuitively attuned to adapting. A business is about the people, and if you've got the right people, they're going to adapt.
Sure.
At its simplest level, it's all about deciding and making very clear to the prospective customer why they should buy from you. Very little has not been invented. Everything exists. So as a prospective consumer, you can pretty much get whatever you want, and there are probably 4 or 5 people within a few kilometer radius that can give you what you need. So we have these needs met by products and services. Ultimately, a value proposition says, why should someone buy from you as opposed to the person down the road? And once you've defined that value proposition in terms of the needs that the customer has, because it must be in terms of the benefits that they're going to get, it must be in terms of basic needs that they have for that product. When you've defined that and it talks to those needs, then you stand a better chance of them actually walking into your door as opposed to someone else's door.